Hello and welcome. I'm John Minnick, the Special Projects Manager at Ragan Communications and PR Daily. I'm thrilled to welcome all of you to Less Stress, More Done in partnership with LumApps. Now, before we get started with our program, some housekeeping notes. If you run into any technical issues, you can use that chat function at the bottom of your window for assistance. Additionally, please use the Q&A function to ask our speakers any questions. Again, it's the chat function for technical issues and the Q&A function for asking questions of today's speakers. There'll be plenty of time for questions. Now, the number one most asked question during a webinar is, will we get the webinar recording? And the answer to that question is within 24 to 48 hours, you will receive an email with the session recording, slides, bonus materials, and a survey about today's session. Please take a moment to complete this survey as your feedback greatly helps us in programming future events, so be on the lookout for it. Now, let's get started. We get it. It's 2025 and the world of work seems more fractured and frantic than ever before. To stay ahead, communications professionals and digital workplace leaders must adopt new strategies and technologies to manage time, tasks, and sanity. But is there a world where your intranet can be the central hub that can actually help everyone get work done? Yes. Today, I'm joined by Ryan Janicek of Northern Ground, Mary Kaplan of LumApps, and Terry Moncoutier, also from LumApps. They will show you how a connected internet can make for more productive workdays for all employees, from leveraging AI and automation to enhancing focus and avoiding burnout. You'll learn how integrated intranets can supercharge your efficiency and help you achieve more with less stress. And now I'm happy to turn things over to today's speakers.
Thank you so much, John. We are excited to be here. We love partnering with Ragan. We love having the chance to talk to our wonderful comms professionals. We learn more from you guys than I think you learned from us. So we want to get started really quickly. We'll go and do some introductions. John already did a good job, but I'll go first. I'm Mary Kaplan. I am based in Austin, Texas, right outside of Austin, Texas, and I work at LumApps, and we are an intranet provider. And like I said, we like to push the bounds of what we think an intranet can and should be for 2025 and beyond. And hopefully we'll see a little bit of that today when we get into the presentation. And it's my pleasure to kick it over to my esteemed colleague, Thierry, to introduce himself, and then Ryan will round it out with you.
I am Thierry Moncoutier from across the ocean, based in old Europe, in Paris, France, working at LumApps in the product marketing department and helping communication professionals enhance their engagement policies.
And my name is Ryan Janicek. I own a digital agency in tropical Milwaukee, Wisconsin called Northern Ground. We are a LumApps implementation partner and have been so for the past 5 or 6 years. We've implemented LumApps intranets for clients ranging between 500 employees and almost 200,000 global employees. I get really excited about helping our clients enable more access to their systems and tools, expand their brands internally, and enable employees to get more done. So excited to present to all of you today and looking forward to great questions.
Wonderful, thanks. And like John said, anytime you have questions, pop them in the chat and we all have tons of time for questions. Okay, so I wanted to set the scene, although if you're like me, you might have a visceral reaction to this slide when I'm finished, and you might feel your shoulders creeping up to your ears. But for a lot of us and for a lot of the employees at the companies that we work for, this might look all too familiar. You wake up, you get your 6-month-old up, you get him to the nanny, you're checking your phone while you're chugging your coffee, and you slide into your desk, whether you're in the office on Tuesdays and Fridays, or you're at home at Mondays and Wednesdays and Thursdays. And by 8 a.m., you already have, I don't know, 60 some odd pings throughout a variety of systems. And those systems might look like Teams, they might look like SAP, they might look like Salesforce and Jira. Concur, et cetera, not counting your email and not counting your calendar, right? So maybe you start your morning and you're preparing for a few different customer-facing presentations, and you need to find certain information about the product that you're selling or the product that you are managing. And you can't just go to one search bar and find it. You're jumping into different systems. Maybe you finally do find it, and then you send it off to your colleague Ryan for approval in a separate system. Okay, now it's midday. Your husband just told you, you know what? I'm turning 40. We're going to Cancun over Christmas. Awesome. So then you jump into your PTO system and you log PTO, and then you block your calendar in another system, and then you tell your manager in another system. And then all of a sudden it's 5 p.m. and what have you done today except log into 25 different systems and manage a variety of different pings, let alone working your day job, let alone learning maybe about your company and reading the news that the comms team has carefully crafted for you. It's a lot. It's a lot. And this is just a typical Thursday for a lot of people. So if you, like me, that alone stressed you out, take a sip of water, take a breath, and we'd like to talk about how maybe your day doesn't have to look like that. There are other ways around it, right? As we know, a lot of employees, and ourselves included, we're pretty tired of work getting lost, of time getting lost with the digital workplaces that we live in, only because they can be disconnected. There's disparate systems. And oftentimes we are asked to repeat work. We go log into one system and do an action, go into another system reporting that we did that action. And again, this is just a frustrating and fractured digital workplace environment. And this really does lead to operational excellence because it can affect employee experience. It can affect time to productivity, employee engagement, employee retention. These figures can be very serious and have major impacts on the business. And ultimately, if it's hard to do our job, it can affect customer experience as well, which we're all, not just employee experience, but customer experience for all of our leadership teams is absolutely paramount. It's how we stay in business. And even though I like to say a fractured and sprawling digital workplace, I know has very good intentions, right? We bring on a number of different applications in order to solve a number of different problems, but sometimes the sheer sprawl of everything we're asked to do in our day-to-day life, it makes for an even more frustrating experience. So really, Mary, you're saying an intranet can help with this? The picture that you're painting, you're really saying an intranet can help with this? Well, I like to say not your parents' intranet, not your intranet that you think of from 2010, not your intranet that you maybe even think of from 2017, which was not that long ago, which is pretty crazy. The intranet of yesterday, I don't think can help fix the problem that we're illustrating. The intranet of today, and certainly the intranet of tomorrow, can and should help with a fractured digital workplace environment and truly help employees be more productive, engaged, connected, and ultimately improve employee experience. So why do we think an intranet of all tools can help with this problem? Well, an intranet, if you think about it, is really meant to level the playing field for all employees, right? Not just employees who sit in our Austin office, not just in the employees that sit in our Paris office, the employees that sit remote, the employees that maybe don't even have an email because they're frontline and they're mobile first employees. Maybe they work in a factory floor, or maybe they work in a hospital. An intranet, it is and should be the place that every employee has access to and the same level of access to, right? The same experience, the same digital home and digital front door. And also, it is the singular point of access, right? A lot of companies today are hybrid in a sense that there may not be that one office that we go to build company culture or to have, you know, the physical space, but the intranet becomes the singular front door digital home of your company. So it's democratized access, level of access for all employees, and then the singular level of access to all employees. And moving one step forward, especially for those deskless employees, those frontline workforce, that app where they can connect to everything that they need to do their job and beyond their job. We're talking HR, IT, etc. Information and knowledge is paramount, right? Having one singular place that's well connected and personalized. That's our view of the intranet, and that's why we think it can be the ultimate connector. So I'm going to pause. Thierry and Ryan, do you guys have anything you'd like to add on your take of how an intranet can be the ultimate connector?
Thanks, Mary. I think a few trends that we see very consistently across our clients, regardless of size or vertical market, is they want a lower cost while increasing access. And that can manifest in a lot of ways. I think that they want more integration of tools they already use that aren't as discrete and spread out. They want those tools accessible in a really relevant and targeted way via a central hub. When an employee comes in the morning, they open the first tab of their browser, we want to sort of set the work vibe. And if there's one sort of consistent channel for communications, if you're a comms professional, or one place to enter a ticket into Jira to get help from IT, or one place to access a 401k contribution, and that's becomes your source of truth, we've seen it have dramatic impact across a wide variety of businesses. When folks get used to that kind of change management around sending their employees to the centralized hub, a place that they can trust to get answers, and they know that that's the most up-to-date, relevant place for them to connect, we've just seen, you know, tremendous benefit. I would say tangentially, there's also something to be said, especially in today's day and age, and Mary mentioned it, around creating sort of a work vibe that, to me, a great intranet should also have a texture. There's this kind of, you know, textural component around its tone and its voice through the images that you show, the stories that you tell, the employees that you hold up, the people that you give a stronger sense of belonging and purpose to. I think many folks in comms understand their external brand really well and execute PR in a strong way. And I think now taking a closer look at your internal brand and translating your external brand from customers to your internal brand to employees is something that we spend a lot of time putting effort towards.
Yeah, I agree with Ryan and Mary, because we are living in a workplace where we have to deal with fragmented set of tools that are supposed to help us on a day-to-day basis, regardless of our role. But in the end, constantly switching from one app to another, it's kind of tiring, and we are so used in our consumer world about apps that we use to book a flight, to check our bank account, etc., that are so impressive, immersive, that we end up with our old intranets, old systems that are totally disconnected, fragmented, and it's a lot of additional work that we shouldn't bother with. And the goal, of course, is to have that ultimate connector, like Mary phrased, to have a single access to companies, update policies, apps, news, but in a personalized way. Because, as Mary mentioned, I'm based in Paris. I may not be interested in the news that happens in Austin. I may not even use the same tools that Mary is using locally. We may not have the same HR system because we have specific policies here in France, and we may not have chosen the same application. So in the end, we should be able to log as an employee, regardless of our role, our location, our equipment. We should be able to connect to a system that provides targeted, personalized applications, tools, etc.
Thierry, can you tell us a little bit more, if we double click into that, how we can get this done, and more importantly, what it might look like when that end state goal?
Yeah, in most of the daddy's intranet you mentioned, Mary, when they say, okay, in your intranet, you will find all the tools, the applications that you are using on a day-to-day basis. Let's be honest, when we look at those intranets, old-fashioned intranets, if I can phrase it that way, the tools that they provide, the access to the business apps they provide is merely a directory of apps, so shortcuts, URLs that list the HR system, the expense report system, the ticketing system, etc., etc. That's not what I am expecting as an employee. I still need to log into a different system, to go into a different interface. And there are some apps that I use on a day-to-day basis, but there are some other apps that I may use once a week, once a month, to do something I don't necessarily remember. So where is that interface? Where can I find that data in those menus? Where can I do that transaction, that perform an action? So that's kind of complex. So if you look at, if you go to the next slide, Mary, please, what could a next generation intranet look like? So when you log to the home page, you will find that personalized feed with informations, news updates that matter to me because I have specific role in the company, a specific interest. And next slide, you will also find, as you can see on the left of the screen, some guided access to some key applications, key tasks that matter to me. So here I can have the balance of holidays that I can take. And I can request a day off directly from the intranet. I don't need to log into Workday. I don't need to go into the Workday interface. I just need to go into that specific widget-like. We call that a micro app. And it will perform the task directly from the intranet interface. Similarly, just beneath, there is the ticketing system. I may use the ticketing system once a month, maybe. If I don't remember which is the ticketing system we are using in the company, here in the intranet, I can open a ticket directly from the intranet interface. I don't need to remember the name of that system, go into the interface, go into the different menus and open a ticket. I can do that directly from the intranet. And if you go to the next slide, I could even find all those micro apps, tasks, data that matter to me, and they may not be the same as those that matter to Mary, because she has other preferences. So I can find the expense application and request funds for my expenses directly from the intranet. I can decide that I want to have the latest news from a third-party system. I can decide I want to display the people working remotely, people in the office, etc. So that's some kind of dashboard, personalized dashboard, where I could organize the applications, the micro applications that matter to me because of my preferences and because of my role and location. As I said before, we may not use the same HR system in France and in the US. So Mary may have a micro application connecting her to Workday. I may have a different HR micro app connecting me to SAP SuccessFactors, for example. And that's pretty common in big organizations where the different subsidiaries have different systems. And last but not least, we should not forget those employees who don't have access to a laptop. So those guided access to key resources, key applications, key data, key transactions have to happen in the mobile intranet app. They need to be accessible for frontline workers or just people in mobility on the go.
Definitely. So we have a phrase here in Texas we call pie in the sky, right? When you paint a beautiful picture, but it's really hard to get there. So how could you actually get this done? Do I need a team of 50 plus developers? This looks, you know, if we're talking about a highly integrated intranet that's weaving together the fabric of our digital workplace, how do I actually start from today, which might be a very disintegrated system, and get to tomorrow? Ryan, could you tell us a little bit about your perspective there?
I would love to. So I think Thierry and Mary have really done a great job kind of setting the table around what a flexible, targeted, best-in-class intranet solution can offer your employees in a variety of ways. What I'd like to talk about as a implementation partner of LumApps Intranet is how we sort of take the next step and make them even more integrated into some of your core systems. How do we move past, regardless of the intranet platform you're on today, how do we move past sort of just a hub of links and outbound access to some of your tools to something that is truly integrated with your core use cases, applications, and really aligned with the employee experience that you want to create. So something I like to talk about on this slide is, employee experience really needs to drive the technology. And I think sometimes as you're out in the open market shopping for platforms, or perhaps you already have a platform and you're thinking about how to get it to work harder, oftentimes it's sort of a comfortable reflex to look towards the technology first and see what it can offer and what it can support, and then sort of try to bend and mold your employee experience objectives or your specific use cases into the technology. And I just think that's sort of the incorrect approach, that really aligning towards a platform that is flexible enough to support your use cases and kind of treat the technology sort of second. Business requirements, employee requirements, and then specifically your requirements maybe in internal comms or HR or IT or other departments throughout the enterprise should really drive the technology platform in terms of its form and function. So that's sort of the first thing I would say. And that's one of the reasons I have on this slide a background here of groups coming together to conduct a UX workshop in this case, or talk about some of their requirements or survey. So on the next slide, I'll talk about some specific sort of tips to helping you achieve a more successful and more deeply integrated intranet. So a couple of things I wanted to point out, and I put it in 3 categories: ability, awareness, and advocacy. So where I would start is really understand just for yourself what your platform is sort of capable of, to have a baseline sense of what's there. That will help you frame where you spend time in determining employee experience. So can your current platform work harder? Let's say you're on a competitive platform, or maybe you're on a happy LumApps customer today. Understanding some of its limits and where it can go is sort of a nice baseline. Just understanding sort of the limits and possibilities. And then I would translate that into awareness. I think as I'll make the assumption that we have a big group of comms professionals here. I think it can be part of your job to build awareness throughout the organization in terms of the possibilities. Think of yourself as, and I mentioned this in the advocacy section, think of yourself as sort of the product owner of your intranet. And now that you understand sort of what it's capable of, and you already have an intimate knowledge of your enterprise and all of your various departments and groups, spread the word. Let them know that it's possible of doing more. Talk about some of the things that we're talking about today, striving towards a more integrated intranet, bringing some of these discrete tools closer to your employees so that they can get their work done and move on with their day. So general awareness, spread awareness around the ability for your intranet to work harder and become more integrated. And then lastly, advocacy. Sort of be the champion of this idea of an integrated intranet and tout kind of its virtues. Push to drive some of that change. And that could manifest in a variety of ways. That could mean something as simple as surveying. That could mean hosting focus groups or doing a user experience or employee experience workshop. That could mean working with a partner like us or a partner in your intranet ecosystem to start to gather requirements and treating your intranet more like a product with a roadmap. Now, something like LoomMaps, of course, has product managers and has a product roadmap and is deploying new features and technology all the time. I sort of think you should now contextualize that to your enterprise. Maybe not every feature that someone like LoomMaps rolls out is the best use case for you. Maybe there's one on their roadmap that you hear about from a webinar like this that's really exciting. Mark that down, put that on a roadmap for yourselves, and really treat your intranet like a product that has a roadmap and a life cycle and goals, and look out to the horizon and look for opportunities to make it more an integrated intranet. So with that in mind, that's sort of philosophical and a bit cultural, the next slide, we talk about ways that we are able to achieve that specifically for LoomMaps. I think the previous slide really applies to sort of any platform and program that you might be working with today, regardless of how evolved it is. In the case of LoomMaps, we're an implementation partner. So we work with clients after they've selected LoomMaps as a platform to go from the theoretical and buying licenses and thinking about features to implementing it within your organization, integrating it within all of your various systems, turning on access, defining roles and groups, relevancy, branding, making the intranet, uniquely yours. And there's a few specific buckets here that we spend time in as we make intranets for customers more integrated. And in the case of LoomMaps, the first one is that they have a big ecosystem of pre-built, sort of built-in support for large vendors. So there are a variety of APIs and just core integrations with, big platforms that we all know and love and that we're not going to give up, from Zoom and Teams and, all SharePoint, Workday, and on, that sort of come with the platform. And it's our job to help you contextualize them and make them relevant and put them in the right spots and target the right users, surface them in the right ways. But there's a core sort of ecosystem of those that are available to you. Number two, and I'll ping Terry to talk about this a bit. Within LoomMaps, there is also a no-code studio, a place for our clients to build micro apps, sort of the next evolution of some of those pre-built-in, out-of-the-box provider integrations. Now a way to make some custom workflows without having to be a technologist, without having to be a senior developer. And I'll have Terry maybe add some texture.
Yeah, the goal here is to have our customers and partners autonomous in crafting bespoke integrations, because the integration that company A may require for their employees may be different from the integration with the same third-party system for company B. So the goal is to provide a simple tool, visual, intuitive, for IT developers, but with regular IT skills, not fancy high-tech skills, expertise, to craft integrations with any system that has APIs, that provides APIs. So basically, you can plug to LoomMaps and display in LoomMaps data that is coming from third-party system, or transactions, enable a transaction directly in LoomMaps to that third-party system. And the kind of the magic of this studio and what we call the micro apps, those guided widgets, it's that you develop it once and it can live in different environment. It will be on a page, on a community, but you can also broadcast that micro app into an email. If you want to target some of your employees, you can broadcast that into Teams, Microsoft Teams, Google Chat, or Slack. So it's one development that will be used in many different touch points to meet employees where they are actually.
Thank you, Thierry. And lastly, as good as micro apps and the no-code studio is and the ability to do that work, the third option, and one of the things that we just absolutely love about LoomApps and appreciate as an implementation partner, is that they make available to us and to their clients an SDK. An SDK stands for Software Development Kit. And what that really means is we have the ability to build custom software that very tightly integrates and lives within LoomApps and can talk to any system that has an offer of access to us via software hooks or an API, basically a code interface. And that's something that's unique. We'll talk about that a little bit more with a few case study examples. So we'll bring this kind of down to earth and add some relevancy to this. But I think whenever you're thinking about something as important as a new intranet for your enterprise, it's an investment in time and in change management. And you're also adopting sort of a philosophy and orientation from that provider. And I think that's something that's sometimes understated. Throughout the pre-sales process, you'll review features and licensing, and you'll talk about customer service and support. But underneath all of that is a cultural kind of a feeling around how LoomApps opens their platforms to development partners that are able to build inside of their platform for customers. And what that really means is we can almost say yes to anything. And I appreciate that. If you have a piece of software, a killer app, a core use case, something that is not maybe supported out of the box, or you have a very complex kind of specific workflow, your C-suite wants to see a metrics widget of manufacturing production for that day based on multiple inputs in a beautiful little widget. I mean, those are things we get to say yes to. So in some of the earlier slides where I talk about being an advocate and sort of an architect, an evangelist for your intranet, knowing that behind almost any request you get, there's probably a yes for us to be able to build something to support it.
I think that's wonderful. And I think, again, if you love your intranet today, that's great. If you have dreams and aspirations of a better, more connected digital workplace, it starts with understanding of what your current provider can do, what you might need your next provider to do. And there's lots of ways to get to that end state goal. And that's what we just wanted to highlight here. There's pre-built integration, there's low code option, there's an option where you can get, super customized, but it's dependent on the background technology, right? So just always be aware when you're architecting and owning your intranet roadmap and you want to build it out and integrate it with XYZ application, be aware of what your provider can or cannot do. So to double click also, Micro App Studio, that's not always a well understood word or term. So just very quickly, Thierry, what can that look like and how user-friendly can it be?
Yeah, we know that the goal here is not to have endless project trying to connect a third-party system to LUMAPS. Our aim here is to provide more services for you, to provide more services to employees, to bring more adoption to your tools and your intranet. So we tend to provide the tools that will expedite the development of those connections, those micro apps. And what we are currently working on is leveraging artificial intelligence and enabling people like Ryan to develop custom integrations from a prompt. And all those, the code, the back office coding will be done by artificial intelligence. So it will enable to deliver those integrations, those micro apps, really faster than using the traditional coding systems that have been implemented in the past. So that's what we are working on, providing the simplest tools as possible for your in-house IT department or integration partners like Ryan, like Northern Ground, with the tools that will enable them to expedite the development of those micro apps.
Awesome. Very cool. All right, Ryan, but what if we do want to do more? Can you tell us about that?
You know, you'd be surprised how many times we talk to new clients, and it could be one or two specific integrations that gets, you know, like the C-suite or executive really excited about a new platform, rather than going to some BI tool or going to 4 others to maybe pull a report or and see core metrics, or, you know, linking out to a bunch of these systems, or certainly for different departments where we can shorten the path to getting answers. If you want to do more and you want, in the air of this discussion around a more integrated intranet, this is what I wanted to talk about. So if you want deeper integration, maybe you want a custom design or maybe some new tech or tying multiple systems together into a really new kind of unique view, this is stuff that we get excited about. Like, how can we make your intranet more powerful and more relevant? How can we surface more kind of deep data into back to your central hub, your the thing you see every morning? Sometimes because we spend all day in this and we think about intranets and we enjoy them and we're turning every dial and we get really excited. I would say that, employees want to use it and sort of move on. They don't want to spend 9 hours a day in the intranet. They have a job to do. They need to help you be more competitive. They have tasks to execute. They want to go go to the intranet to get answers. Maybe they were linked by HR in out of an FAQ, or they were directed there. They need answers. They need to be able to trust it and move on. So less links, deeper workflow, any sort of custom feature set. When we hear some of these keywords throughout discovery, or we start to identify patterns and trends when we do employee experience workshops, it starts to make us think about proposing deeper, more relevant integration. And we have a few options in following slides that I'll go through just to bring this kind of down to earth. One example we executed for a client. So we've set these case studies up really simple. Problem, solution, what was the impact it had on the organization? Some of these are big ideas and some of them are small, and and that's okay. Like we need to solve a problem and we want to we want to surface more data, and here's the impact we want to have. So we had a client that had a challenge. They were growing rapidly. They sourced some of their best staff internally. They wanted to encourage upward mobility. They wanted to provide more visibility to job openings. They have a career site that's powered by Greenhouse, their provider, but they wanted that to live within the intranet itself. And we built a new intranet for them. At the same time, we built this integrated widget with Greenhouse where they could surface job roles. We could target by where folks were in the world, global companies, so we could target their region. Filtering and sorting and tools. Basically, think of this as a micro version of their public job board. We just got to be able to have it live in a side rail everywhere in the intranet, give employees faster access to it, give them nice tools to be able to apply and find and favorite jobs. We were actually able to put more functionality into this little custom widget within LoomApps than their public site had. Their public site just had job listings and search and some like really baseline stuff. And because they had an open API that we integrated with, we were able to make it do a little bit more work. Not a huge effort, few weeks. We did it in parallel with deploying their new intranet. So when it rolled out, this functionality was there. And overall, the feedback was that all staff just really appreciated targeted job listings. They didn't, if they opted into being in the North American region, maybe they didn't want to see job openings in EMEA. So very successful, fun little tool. And we're not showing it in context of the full intranet, but same branding, color palette, iconography, a consistent design system was applied to this to encourage trust and show employees that it was a safe, safe kind of widget to interact with. This was fun. We did a widget for a client that had just implemented a Wardco, employee recognition system. It was a decision that had been made by another group. We were working with comms to implement a new intranet, and in discovery, we were made aware of this, and they sort of posed a challenge to us. Ryan, Northern Ground, should we just link out to a Wardco? Should we really have sort of a separate experience for our employees? Or is there an option to have that experience exist within our new intranet? And of course, there was an option, and we made that available. So really interesting platform that allows this client to recognize employees and milestones. They can do badging and earn points, and just really slick. So we were able to integrate it right within the platform of their new intranet on LoomApps. Same color palette, again, theme, iconography, deep design, and just made folks kind of, again, think of the intranet more as a hub rather than just a link farm. Very targeted, increased engagement in the intranet, and just increased overall employee sat and a sense of a belonging and achievement. If I log into an intranet and I'm able to see that employees are celebrating a promotion, a birthday, a work milestone, they're being rewarded for a big software launch or a product award, I think it's a nice way to really connect folks and tie things together.
Well, and I like this one. This is really special use case to me because employee recognition, in rewarding and recognizing employees for the good work that they do is so special, and it's so important, and it's such a part of improving employee experience, improving culture. However, and so that's such a good, well-intentioned use case. However, if it lives in a disparate system, you're kind of putting the onus back on the employee who's busy to jump into somewhere else and put their rewards and recognition, right? So being able to truly create an employee hub, being able to truly use your intranet to very easily, very quickly, you did a great job. Hey, you went above and beyond. You are part of, representing our values and living our values. We want our intranets to be a place of engagement, recognition, excitement. So this one to me speaks closely to my heart because it is often such a well-intentioned idea, but it can be sometimes just siloed and even just a little bit more work than it needs to be. And it doesn't have to be that way.
Were you talking about me, Mary, that we did a great job? Were you?
Always.
Okay.
Always.
No, this was fun. Great points. Here's a really simple one. It only took us a week. That includes requirements all the way to launching this widget. So not a week of work, literally a week on the calendar. Here's the use case. I don't think I'm the only one that wouldn't want to use a slimmed down version of Slack or Teams inside of another platform. I want to work in the platform. Those do a lot of hard work. But in this case, there was a very unique use case that comms and sales had a couple of channels in Slack that they wanted to surface a bulletin board, really literally just one-way communication. They didn't intend for employees to interact and respond. They wanted to just surface kind of bulletin board style announcements in key channels via a widget. That was it. So very simple on its face, a really interesting, kind of obvious use case for this stuff. Literally a couple of days of dev time and grabbing requirements, and we turn on a really fun little Slack bulletin board. So it's a way that within Slack, comms and sales has a bunch of control of like this bulletin board messaging in a tool they like. They don't have to interact with a slimmed down different version. And we can target channels right to a subset of their employee base, really increase relevancy, keep them close to internal comms, make sure everyone's aligned. We all know the mission. We're all kind of rowing in the same direction. And just a slick little integration that offered a lot of value. Sometimes these have a big story, right? It's a strategic initiative with a brand new tool that we have a big investment in, including Loom apps, and we want to create all these work. You know what? And other times, it's a bulletin board. I want certain people in a group just to see a post, and we love making that stuff happen too. So I wanted to just sprinkle in a few of these ideas. Thierry has another one that might spark some of these ideas in you, bringing them back to like what's really relevant for you. Think of the possibilities, and think about a platform that can support possibilities like this, like Loom apps. Thierry, I think the next one's.
Yeah, this example is across the ocean. So it's a big retail company. They have a big HQ in Paris. And in the HQ, every employee has access to some private services. They have a private gym club. They have a private spa. They have a concierge services if you need to have clean clothes, etc. And all those services were offered to employees via manual and complex booking processes. So you needed to call the clerk, can I get a reservation for a party of 5 in the private restaurant? Is the coach available in a gym club for a session, a 1-hour session at 2 p.m.? So that was time-consuming, mostly manual processes to book those services. And with micro apps, they manage to offer those services digitally to their employees from their intranet. So here you see some screens from the mobile intranet, and every employee can access to those concierge services or campus life services directly from their intranet and book what they need to book and enjoy those services that the headquarters offered them. So the time to implement that was quite fast, 4 weeks, in order to define, to connect the dots, connect the different systems together, and offer them, display them into the intranet.
And wouldn't it be nice if we could implement this and every company would have to give a spa service that you could just, because I could use one of those weekly, personally.
I know you would.
All right, so meeting our employees where they are with relevant targeted solutions that support our mission. This is our goal, right? This is our goal as intranet providers, as comms professionals and digital workplace leaders. And I'll always be fascinated by the fact that, comms professionals today own and manage IT technology and solutions, right? Like that convergence that we've seen the past 20 years of things being completely and totally online, I think is really fascinating. And it's changed the world of communications forever. And I think as our tools and technology continue to push the boundaries, continue to offer more capabilities, and truly put the employee at the center stage, right? It's kind of like Thierry was saying, when I open my phone and I go on LinkedIn or TikTok, it's customized to me. It knows even in a creepy way, right? I'm there, what I like to see, how much time I like to spend on it. It's Mary's LinkedIn. And as a new parent, I'll tell you, sometimes that stuff is scary. Like the amount of kid content that you get, even on platforms like LinkedIn. It's like, I don't remember saying that I had a baby and putting that status, but LinkedIn somehow knows, and all my apps now know. And so employees are even where we see this in our personal lives outside of work. So the expectations inside of work are there, right? The expectations that the apps that we use at work be user-friendly, be just easy to use and not require a ton of training. I don't care which system is the back end. I care about being able to go into a system, find what I need quickly, complete a task, and move on and have my next meeting, right? And that's kind of the world we're living in, and that's the future that we are all building. So I know we have questions. To wrap up really quickly, if you ever want to learn more, and we always want to learn more from you guys, right? We'd love for you to come and see us and interact with us in person. We have 2 upcoming events, one in Chicago, one in Paris. So now's the time to get your budget solidified to spend your summer in Paris, to come see us, right? Just joking. But we do have 2 different conferences, one in Chicago, one in Paris, in person, specifically around the future of work, intranets, digital workplaces, all geared towards our communications professionals. The Bright Conference, it's where the brightest minds in employee experience come together. We're going to talk about enterprise challenges, spark innovation, take action. If you are looking to boost in communications, collaboration, employee engagement, this conference is for you. And we'd love to see you there. And we have a lot of speakers that are coming in from across the internal comms and digital workplace world that we're all super excited about. So with that, we'll pause and we'll get to some of our questions. If you can't come and see us in person, there's a few different online events and webinars that we're hosting as well that we'd love to see you at too.
Yes, again, if anybody has a question for today's speakers, please use the Q&A function to submit your questions. Jumping into this, the first question, our company is really nervous about implementing AI. Do you have any recommendations?
Yeah, I'll start and then I'll kick it over, Ryan and Thierry, to you guys. And I'll just say, you're not alone. Implementing AI, and when the whole ChatGPT whirlwind took off a few years ago, it was like every single IT vendor on the market suddenly became an AI-powered blank, like an AI-powered whatever. And so AI just took it over. Every vendor wanted to be seen as an AI-powered vendor. And a lot of companies and a lot of LoomApps customers for sure are like, yeah, we're not quite ready for that. You know, the whole notion of generative AI, generative images, generative videos inside of your intranet, that's not where we are. And I think that's totally normal. I think look at your willingness to adopt AI as like a maturity curve. You could be down at the bottom, you could be way at the top, but you'll probably fall anywhere within that, and that's completely fine. I will say LoomApps as a vendor, we work with the AI provider that you are probably already working with. So if you're an enterprise that uses Google Workspace, we work with Gemini. So your IT team has probably already blessed that and moved forward. So it's not an external sanctioned product. And likewise with Microsoft. So that could alleviate some fears. But Thierry first, and then Ryan, what are your thoughts on, you might be a little nervous to implement AI, and what can you do?
Well, we comply with when you speak about AI, you need to speak about security and the fact that what you do with AI will stay in your company, in your intranet, and not leak outside in the public domain. So it's true that generative AI can help both contributors most of the contributors of your intranet probably are not communication specialists. They don't have communication expertise. They may be a little bit afraid of drafting an article, etc. So generative AI can be a real help for them to alleviate the fear of the blank page and provide an engaging content. Yet, you need to be secure about the fact that this Gen AI technology is only yours. I mean, it complies with your AI policies. And we have made the choice to work with global vendors, and the Gen AI you will use and the training of that Gen AI is not what your competitor will have and not what the other LUMAPS companies will have. So it's purely siloed into your tenant, if I use technical words. And it's yours only, total security. And Gen AI can be also a help for intranet managers, not only contributors, but managers, in order to identify those pages, content that may be obsolete, that may not be consistent. Like there is one page saying for that type of holidays, you can get 4 days. For that type, you can get 5 days. So AI can really help you in managing your intranet on a day-to-day basis.
The last thing I would add related to AI would be, as much as we like to think of intranet as sort of the center of the earth, if AI is a topic of discussion, it's likely it's a much bigger discussion within your enterprise. It's being looked at for manufacturing and product development and other parts in the organization. And I don't know that the intranet should be the thing that breaks the glass on AI. I think we should align with your AI policies and best practices from an organizational standpoint and sort of flow with those.
Yeah, a few years ago, 10 years ago, or 15 years ago, we were into the digital transformation. Now we are in the AI transformation. So it's a strategic approach that needs to be implemented. Where do I want to go? What kind of processes do I want to enhance? For what reason? And what are the backbone technologies I need to implement? And aligning all the company, your data, your chief data officer, your CIO, etc., is required in order to move forward correctly.
Yeah, and just one last thing to end on this particular question is, when Ryan, I love mentioning that owning an intranet is owning a product. So if you aren't ready for AI today in 2025, okay, but where does it fall on your roadmap? Because it can't just not be on your roadmap. I think the world of tomorrow, AI is here and it's not going away. Might change, but can we put it on the roadmap for 2026, 2027, and really evaluate where it will bring enhancements and improvements if we're not ready today?
Well, that actually brings us to the top of the hour, and our time together today comes to a close. As a reminder to our audience, you will receive a survey within 24 to 48 hours. Once you respond, you will gain access to the slides and bonus materials from today's session, so be sure to take that survey. On behalf of Ragan Communications and LUMAPS, thank you for attending today's session, and have a great rest of your day.